Well, guys, it is round 2. It starts tomorrow after the Heat-Hawks game. I know only 3 of the matchups are set up, only 7 of the 8 teams are set in stone, but we'll deal with that when we get to it at the end of this set of videos. So let's start right now. The 5 seed, the Houston Rockets, taking on the 1 seed, the Los Angeles Lakers. I think it's going to be pretty fun, but let's break it down closely here. The matchups I'll be watching, you have obviously Kobe Bryant going up against Shane Battier, or however you want to pronounce his name. Let's go with Shane Battier. Artest is considered a great defender, but he has somewhat of a bad history defending Kobe Bryant. Kobe has the tendency to play really well against Artest, so it might have to be Shane Battier to match up with Kobe, because Battier is a wonderful defender as well. So that's going to be huge. We have Andrew Bynum versus Yao Ming. Andrew Bynum was not able to play last series because he had no matchup, because Utah spent most of that series playing with 2 power forwards, so Los Angeles was better off playing their 2 power forwards, Gasol and Odom. In this series, I'm open to Andrew Bynum starting simply because he matches up with Yao Ming, because they're somewhat similar players. And even when Utah used a center, they were using Mehmet Okur, who mainly shoots threes, so Bynum just didn't fit in. This series, he fits in. He can go up against Yao. Yao can go up against him. That's, center versus center. It works. So he has to play well, or else people are going to run out of excuses for him. We have the Lakers point guards and Aaron Brooks. The Lakers point guards have really struggled this year. It's been a chink in the armor for these guys. I'm sorry. Water went down the wrong tube, I think. Fisher, he just needs to not turn it over, bring the ball up, and hit some threes. And hit his free throws when he happens to get them. I don't think it's too much to ask. And if he does that, I don't think people are going to be complaining about him. And then you have Shannon Brown, who they are trying to play a point guard, and he's been okay. He's made some plays, done some positive things, but he's not great by any means. I don't trust him at all. Farmar is completely awful now. I don't think they're even going to play him this series. I have no idea what happened to him. But anyway, those guys, Aaron Brooks is probably better than any of them, but Aaron Brooks is not that great of a player. He's okay point guard. He gets the job done for this Houston team, but I don't trust him. So one of those 4 guys, probably 3 guys, because I think Jordan Farmar has run out of opportunities, needs to make something happen. For Brooks has to be an all-around good player. Brooks is probably going to have to do a lot in this series to equalize. Fisher just has to hit his threes. That's all I really want from Derek Fisher. So, and finally, you have Odom and Gasol going up against Luis Scola. Scola is 6'9". Gasol and Odom are like 7-footers. And Odom's arm length is more like 7'5", because his arms are just really long for his body. So Scola doesn't match up to either of these guys. These guys should just be able to tower over him. It's not that Scola is a bad player. He just doesn't work in this situation. So they need to abuse him. Thinking about this series beyond the matchups, who's going to take the big shots for this Rockets team? If you're down 1 with 20 seconds left, got the ball, going down court, who's taking the shot? Is it Aaron Brooks? I don't think so. Aaron Brooks isn't that good. I don't trust him. Is it Ron Artest? No, he shoots a horrible percentage. You don't want him because he's just going to jack up a terrible jumper. Is it Shane Battier? I don't think so. He's not very good offensively. Is it Scola? He's not really that good offensively either. Sometimes he can score 20, 25, but for the most part, he's a 14, 15-point scorer. And it should be Yao Ming, but 1, it's really hard to get Yao Ming the ball in crunch time because they take him out of it. And 2, instead of using his size, Yao Ming likes to go to the fade-back jumper way too much, which I never got, but yeah. So you have that. Can the Lakers hit their threes against Artest and Battier? Because Artest and Battier are really good perimeter defenders. So you have Fisher, who should be a really good three-point shooter. We'll see what he does this series because he's been a little down he's been struggling lately. Kobe is a solid three-point shooter. He's a little off and on. Can he get going? Vujacic, Shannon Brown, even Ariza. Ariza lately has been hitting some threes. These guys, if they can't hit threes against this Rockets team, it could be a little harder. So somebody there has got to step up and just hit threes. Who's going to come off the bench for the Rockets? Is it going to be Von Wafer and Kyle Lowry again? Because they need some bench play, because the Lakers go 10 deep. Now, some of those 10 guys are a little less than others. Like right now, I don't really think too much of Sasha Vujacic, but they go 10 deep, and they go 11 deep if Farmar gets his ass in gear. But that's not likely. I do think they go 10 deep with the emergence of Josh Powell. So somebody on that bench, they need 3-4 guys to come off the bench and contribute. And finally, I think an interesting thought to have in this series is Jordan Farmar. What if he does manage to get a couple minutes because of injury, knocks down a 3, maybe makes a good defensive play? Who knows? Maybe he can earn a couple minutes. My X factor for this series is going to have to be Aaron Brooks, because the Lakers point guards are bad. At least they are right now. So if Aaron Brooks can play well, he can give the Rockets a chance to take some games. However, I'm going to be bold here. I'm going to say Lakers in 5. It's a little bold. A lot of people are probably going to go Rockets in 6. Or Lakers in 6, I'm sorry. But I'm going to say Lakers win this series in 5. It's a little bold, and I believe it. And I want to see them. I want to see the Lakers win this series in 5. Alright, next matchup is the Dallas Mavericks taking on the Denver Nuggets. Matchups here. Dirk Nowitzki versus Kenyon Martin. The last time Dirk went up against a defender like Kenyon Martin in the playoffs, it was in 2007. He went up against two defenders that were like intimidators. They were in your face. They were nasty. They talked trash. They had a edge to their game. Stephen Jackson and Kenyon Martin. Stephen Jackson, excuse me. And Matt Barnes. Not Kenyon Martin, Matt Barnes, duh. So, Stephen Jackson and Matt Barnes. And they gave Dirk problems. Now he goes up against a similar type defender in Kenyon Martin. Dirk could have problems in this series again. We'll see, but that's going to be key. Jason Kidd versus Chauncey Billups. Kidd can handle Billups defensively because Billups does not like to drive to the hoop and get layups. That's not really his game. His game is jumpers and threes. Kidd can defend against that. Billups is an interesting type of point guard. He's not a great driver. He's not a great scorer. He's not a great passer, not a great rebounder. What he's good at is controlling tempo, not turning it over, and hitting jump shots and hitting big shots. So, Kidd can handle that. Will he? I would hope so, but who knows? Maybe Billups will explode anyway. But this is a good point guard matchup for Kidd. I think he can take it. Carmelo Anthony versus Josh Howard. Does this Dallas team have any chance of stopping Carmelo? I don't see it. They have nobody who can cover Carmelo. So this isn't going to be about Howard defending Anthony, because Anthony can go off on Howard. Can Howard play well offensively to offset Anthony somewhat? Can Howard drop 25 points or 30 points or whatever he needs to a game to stay with Anthony? That is really what's key here. Last matchup, these guys aren't going to be defending each other or anything. Linus Kliza and J.J. Barea. They're different positions. Barea is like a point guard, shooting guard. Kliza is like a small forward. But they are both the 8th man on this team. Both of them come off the bench. They're like the 3rd best player off the bench for both teams. I think the 6th man and 7th man on these two teams are going to kind of cancel each other out. I'll talk about that in a second. But who's going to step up here? Who's going to make more plays? Because that could end up deciding a game or two. Because I think J.R. Smith and Jason Terry cancel each other out, and Brandon Bass and Birdman are going to cancel each other out. So, Kliza and Barea, somebody needs to outplay the other. Thoughts in this series? Again, how is this Mavericks team going to cover Carmelo Anthony? They have nobody who can stay with Anthony. So, that's an issue. Kidd needs to hit his threes, because I know Billups is going to hit his threes. That's what he does. Billups was on fire in round 1. I don't expect that to change. So Kidd needs to hit his threes. He's been pretty good at that this year. He did that some in round 1. He's reworked himself as an outside shooter hitting threes. Needs to do that this series just to keep in the ballpark of Billups. I need to go on to another video.